Hello, Jim. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, nice. Wonderful. How are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
Oh, fine. I'm fine. Thank you so much. Thank you for this Sangha. I really love the concept.
Ah, you're welcome. Is this your house? Is that a Buddha on the shelf? I'm going to unmute everybody. For some reason, you are not muted, but others are muted. So if you want to say hello to the group, you may. Everybody is unmuted here.
Hello.
Hi.
It's okay, you can see the time.
I'm curious, how is it right now to be in Spain? Is it feeling a little more relaxed now that you can go outside for 1 hour or?
For meditation doesn't matter. It's just
Yes, it is. Mhm.
We need to monitor the waiting room because last Wednesday we got bombed or hacked. So some 6 people managed to get in who we did not know. So
it doesn't see me.
let's see, did I enable? Okay.
Hello.
Anna Monica will handle that job. Ah, there's Martina. I haven't seen Martina in a long time.
Hello.
No.
Hello, Taxi. Hey, Martina. Where have you been? Are you in Poland or in Spain or somewhere else? She can't hear me, maybe. Martina, can you hear me?
Oh yeah, hi Jim.
Yeah, where are you?
I'm in Madrid in my apartment.
Okay. So you've been there the whole shutdown, huh?
Yes, I've been here the whole time.
Boy.
Where are you? Still in San Francisco?
No, we're in Joshua Tree, which is high desert in Southern California. But we'll be going to San Francisco tomorrow.
Okay.
I have to go back to work. Ugh. I had a very good run where I did not have to work but a few hours a week. But now I have to go to work. So we'll see what happens. I so much have enjoyed, just meditating, teaching the meditation, going to retreats, to go back to work and not, it's not calling me, but it feels like the right thing to do. Make sure I see some others are muted. Let me see. If I go like that, is everybody off? Carlos, can you say something? I want to see if I can hear you.
Sure, you should be able to hear me.
Ah, good. Okay. It says for some reason it said you were
I was on mute, yeah.
on mute. Okay. Well, great. So I thought what we would do today is, our usual meditation of, we've been going about 28 minutes, in case you've been wondering. It's a little bit longer than, I always say 25, but it ends up going like 28. And towards the last, 5, 6, 7 minutes, I will add a little bit of instruction about being mindful of our thoughts, mindful of mental formations is how they would kind of put it more technically. So whatever maybe emotions might be arising, thoughts, moods. So working a little bit with the third foundation of mindfulness and the fourth foundation of mindfulness, which is mindfulness of dhammas, or mindfulness of, what's another way? Phenomena, I think. But not to worry, not complicated. Well, just whatever arises, we just notice it, maybe name it with a little label, little etiqueta. planning or worrying or judging or wanting, whatever it is, we just label it and then come back to the breath. But for the first part, we'll just do our typical mindfulness of breathing, mindfulness of the body, the calming samatha practice. Anna Monica, what do you mean by that? Can you try your phone? Just, did you try free as the password? Oh, there you are. You're in the waiting room.
Yes, thank you.
So
Sorry,
now
I'm
I'm
late.
gonna make, let's see, where's Anna Monica? I'm going to make her a co-host. Give her some control here of the waiting room. Okay, how about now? Okay, is there anybody who has a question or would like to say something before we start meditating?
Yes, I have a question.
Okay, Luis.
I don't know if it is important or not, but you said, you mentioned as a mental formation, emotion. Is it a mental formation or is it a feeling?
In the Buddhist perspective, it is considered a mental formation. In Western psychology, we kind of distinguish between mental process and emotional, but in Buddhism, they're all lumped together. Because the cognition, the knowing of the feeling, of the emotion is at the mental level. So everything is a mental formation in Buddhism. But, don't worry about that. Feelings, emotions, all of that, whatever arises, just notice it, name it if you want to, and then just see if it passes away. That'll be the practice.
All right, thanks.
You're welcome. Okay, if no one else has a question, I will put it on mute. And yeah, let's meditate. Okay. Okay. So find a comfortable posture. Kind of playing with that a second. And I will turn on our timer so that we don't even go past 28 minutes. And we want to establish ourselves, right, here in this moment, which sometimes can be so difficult, but it's so important, right, to be here now. So what we usually do, for those of you who might be new, we've been using the body to arrive, to allow us to arrive into this present moment. So maybe what we can do is a little scan, a little body scan, feeling or experiencing or knowing the body through the sensations that might be present, or even the absence of sensation. So why don't we start with our head? So just trying to feel our head. Noticing maybe there's some pressure, maybe there's some tension. And if there is some tension, just try to relax that area, feel it, relax it. Feeling the face, the jaw. Now let's drop down into the trunk of the body. Feeling the front of the body, the chest, the belly. Maybe you notice the body is moving with the breath. Noticing the back body, the shoulders, the shoulder blades, the lower back, the lumbar. And you know, if there are thoughts, if the mind is thinking about something, no worries. We just try to let those go, come to the body, and you might have to go back and forth. That's okay. You can always catch up to wherever we are in the body. Feeling the arms. Maybe there's a little tingling, or you can feel air touching the arms, touching the skin. Feeling the hands where they might be touching your legs or touching each other in your lap. Noticing those points of contact. And now going to the sit bones. Noticing the points of contact there, maybe on the chair, the cushion, the couch, the bed, the floor. Maybe you can sense the weight of the body and the pressure. And the legs, the upper legs, the thighs, the knees, the lower legs, the feet. And then if you can, try to feel the whole body at once. As if you could envelop or wrap your whole posture, your whole body in kind awareness and kind loving attention. Now, at any time, you can come back to the body as an anchor, as a home base for your attention. But now let's find the breath. Let's feel the sensations of breathing. Typically, we might choose a place where the breath is very easy to follow, easy to feel, maybe even a bit pleasant. And let that be our anchor. And when the mind wanders, when the attention gets distracted, once we notice, we let it go and we come back to this home base, this anchor. So it could be maybe at the nostrils, or the movement of the belly, the movement of the chest, or you could do the whole body breathing. And so you have at least two options, the breath as an anchor or the posture or you can do sounds. For instance, my voice or the birds chirping. And just allow yourself to listen, to hear, and let that be your anchor, listening. Without interpretation, don't try to figure out what kind of bird it might be or anything like that. Just noticing the sound hitting the eardrum. And so I'll be quiet for a while, and this is our practice, centering the mind, stabilizing the mind, calming the mind by thinking less, letting the thoughts go, and coming back to your chosen anchor, the breath or the body or the sounds. If you have a practice of labeling your experience or would like to try that, you can label your breath, inhaling with the inhale, exhaling with the exhale, or simply in, out. And when the mind drifts off, wanders, you might say thinking or imagining. And then returning in, out. Labeling can sometimes be very supportive to stay connected to the present moment. if you are experiencing lots of thought, or that is, the mind is obsessing about something, one thing you can try to do is see if there are any bodily sensations. Could be emotions, could be tension, contraction, or even expansion in the body that might be connected to the thought. And if you find something, just try to know it, try to experience it in the body and see if that helps calm down, settle down the mind. Now, if you're willing, I invite you to pay a little more attention, a little closer attention to the kinds of thoughts that might arise and the kinds of feelings that might arise. And if something does arise, just noticing it and maybe even labeling it with a single word, and then coming back to your chosen anchor until another thought arises, or another feeling arises, or another mood arises. So just being aware of our mental formations, the sankharas, the different arisings of the mind, which may feel like they're felt in the body too. Just noticing, labeling, seeing if they stay or watching them go. And now let's return to the body. No matter where the attention has been, even if we've been thinking for the whole 25 minutes, no problem. At any moment, we can always return to the present moment. And again, coming back into the body and infusing, you might say, filling the body with awareness. Feeling your limbs, your legs, and your arms. Feeling your trunk of the body, the front body, the back body. Feeling the head. And imagine pushing your awareness out or extending your awareness out a little bit beyond the skin into the field of energy that surrounds us. Feeling the skin, maybe there's a little tickling, or you can feel different temperatures. Noticing the weight of the body, the earth element, the heaviness, but how Mother Earth just holds us perfectly. And then imagine you can extend your awareness to include everybody here on this call today, meditating together, our Sangha. And remembering that although this can seem like a private practice, maybe even a selfish practice, it is anything but. We practice not only for ourselves, but for the benefit of all beings, for the benefit of our planet. Just kind of keeping that in mind. And as you hear the sound of the bell, just noticing if anything arises, other sensations, other thoughts, desires, aversions, whatever it might be. Holding them gently and then letting them go. Almost 28 minutes, 27 minutes and 51 seconds. So let's see, got a chat. Someone says, thanks, and like the birds. Steve, yeah. Yeah, Anna Monica set up a little bird bath out front, and so we get lots of birds coming and visiting us. So what I thought I would do is kind of continue talking about the 4 foundations of mindfulness, which we've been talking about on Thursdays and Sundays, the Satipatthana. And, just doing kind of a review, because I think it's just helpful for me anyways to review these things. And then talking a little bit about the 4th foundation of mindfulness, and specifically one of the lists, because the fourth foundation includes various Buddhist lists, and this is the aggregates, the 5 aggregates or khandhas, which is actually not talked about so very much in a lot of the Theravada Dharma talks and books and so forth that I've encountered. You do hear about it a little bit more in the Thich Nhat Hanh tradition, where in Sanskrit they're called skandhas. They tend to bring them up a little bit more, but I think they're very important, and I think they're very useful in our regular day-to-day lives, right? Because they cover pretty much, I think they cover everything in terms of our awareness. So I'm going to use our share screen feature, and bear with me. I always seem to stumble at first when I bring this up, but let's see how it goes. So I got it this time. Yay! So Carlos, can you see Satipatthana Sutta? Is that what's on the screen? Okay. And I can see you. I can only see like 3 of you. So that for those of you who don't know, and I know for some of you, this is just going to be pure review, but so the Satipatthana, those Pali words mean establishments or foundations of mindfulness. Sati being the word for mindfulness. And then sutta just means discourse or talk or teaching. Whoop, that didn't work. So these are the 4, as some of you know. So we have mindfulness of the body, which is what we do with all our meditations. Mindfulness of Vedana, which I see is misspelled here, which is something we did a couple weeks ago, which feelings in the Buddhist context just means, is it pleasurable or pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral? It's not, doesn't have the same definition that we have when it comes to feelings or emotions, sentimientos. It's much more basic. Mindfulness of mind, which is the process of thinking, whatever mind states might come up, feelings, emotions, moods. And then the last one is called mindfulness of phenomena or dhammas. And this is a group of lists that when we see the world through these lists, we see the world with new glasses, right? New glasses. So that's what we're going to talk about today a little bit, which is right here. Okay, found them. So there are these lists within this list, and this is so common in Buddhism. We have lists, and within a factor of a list, you could have another list that includes the list you're in. It can get quite almost incestuous in terms of the lists, but it all makes some sense. So the first one is hindrances, the 5 hindrances, which are the obstáculos. No, these are the things that prevent us from being present. There's the 5 aggregates, which I'm going to talk about a little bit more today. There's the 6 sense bases, which are the 5 that we generally learn in the Western world, plus the mind gate, right? So eyes and hearing and so forth. There's the 7 factors of awakening, which we've talked about back in Saladana, which is a beautiful list of 7 factors that can bring us to awakening, to equanimity. And then there's the foundation of them all, the 4 noble truths, which we have been talking about a bit on Sunday. So I thought just for fun, we will talk about the aggregates, the khandhas or the skandhas in Sanskrit. So the Buddha, he believed through observation that all conditional experience includes these 5 things without exception. The first one is form. which is called rupa. And form is everything from like our physical self to even our thoughts are form. Impressions, images, these type of things. So that's a big group, right? That's probably, who knows? It's some percentage, very large percentage of total everything. Rupa, form. But then we get into the more subtle, more mental aggregates. An aggregate, by the way, this word means, it's got a funny definition, but it's kind of like heap or montón, you might say. It's just a group of stuff. So like if you have a dhammakanda, that means it's a group or a heap or a montón of dhammas, of phenomena. That's all it kind of really means. So the first aggregate is form. So it's a heap of form. It's a montón of form. It's a group of form. So then in the Buddhist, yeah, right. Okay. I've got it. For a minute there, I thought I had it in the wrong order. But no, the second one, which you could call it sensation or you could call it feelings. We generally use the word feelings. It's this word Vedana, which we have talked about before because it is the second foundation of mindfulness. And in the Buddhist philosophy, there always, 100% of the time, there is Vedana. And I think it's true because it's a survival instinct that we beings have. And I'll explain real quickly. Anytime we come in contact with form, with an object, with a perception, with an idea, whatever, there's an immediate reaction by the mind. Is this good, bad, or neither? Is this pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral? Do I want more of it? Do I want to push it away because it's dangerous? Or do I no me importa? I don't care, right? This is an instinctual reaction of the mind. Vedana. We immediately come in contact with something, and then we decide we want it, we don't want it, or we don't care. The second one is perception. Sangha. Now, this is quite interesting. We perceive whatever the form is through lenses that are dictated really by causes and conditions, but that perception becomes like a memory, and this is how we learn things, right? As we perceive it, we make a mental note of it, we name it, and then we think we know. We've got an idea what that is. But perception can be so unpredictable, right? It can be so unreliable. For instance, the classic kind of story that you will hear in a Buddhist Dharma talk is you're walking on a trail, and up on the trail, you see what looks like a snake, right? It's a long, thin object. You think it's a snake. There's an immediate Vedana perception of aversion or fear because you're scared, right? Because this could be a snake. But as maybe you get a little closer, you realize it's just a stick, right? It's just a stick. So your perception has changed from it being a snake to it being a stick. But it is the same thing. The form, the rupa, the object hasn't changed at all, but our perception does. And this happens all the time, right? In life, we're constantly misperceiving things. And this can be a real cause of our suffering when we see the world in a certain way through that perception when it isn't exactly that way. And that is why this is a path of trying to see clearly, trying to see things as they really are. The fourth group is what's called sankharas, or formations, mental formations. And this includes, like Luis asked about the feelings, it includes our thoughts, it includes our beliefs, It includes our prejudices. It includes our expectations. It includes our feelings, or, our sentimientos, our emociones. It includes our moods. Everything is in that sankara aggregate, heap, group. And then there's the last one, consciousness. But even consciousness in the view of the Buddha is variable. It's not 100% reliable. And it's not permanent. It's also impermanent. Conscious arise, it sees through these other things. You have form, you have the Vedana perception, you have perception, you have our ideas about it, you have consciousness, it knows all that in an instant, but then it passes away, and then consciousness arises. This is very Buddhist, right? This is how they, through years and years, centuries really, of observing the mind, this is how they saw how the mind works. And how each one of these things, we can cling to it, that is, want more of it, or we can push it away, or we can become confused by any one of these things. And so the idea is to purify the mind as much as we can so that we can see things as they really are, so we can have a bare knowing. So let me see if I have, okay, real quickly. This is perception. Again, core Buddhist teachings. These are the types of perceptions that we could have where things fall within these groups. We have a perception that things are solid, right? I feel solid. My head feels very solid, sometimes thick as a brick. But in fact, it's very spacious. There's a lot of lack of solidarity in solidity in our bodies. And, here's a block, a yoga block, seems very solid, but when you get right down to it, not very solid. It's a lot more space than it is form. Concepts, our ideas about things, a form of perception. The perception of place and ownership. This is one of my favorite subjects, especially ownership, because it's such a fabrication, right? I believe that this block is my block. Actually, it's my brother's block because I'm in his place, but so he owns this block, right? But really, is he going to take it to the grave with him? Is he going to, take it into the next life? Does anybody really own this block? Does this block even own this block? These are kind of Buddhist thoughts, right? Buddhist questions. The concept of time, really, is there really a past? Is there really a future? Is there really even a present moment? These are areas where we perceive things through time, but when you get right down to it, they may not even exist, right? And then probably the most common and the one that causes us the most suffering is the perception of self. That's the last one on this list, that there's a solid self here, and that things that happen around me happen as a result of me or mine. But as you will learn, and many of you have already learned, when we unravel or decompose the self and decompose these other aggregates, this is why the Buddha did it. He used a metaphor of a chariot. So maybe a modern metaphor would be a car. How the aggregate are the wheels, the metal, the fabric of the seats, what goes into the motor. These are all the heaps that when put together bring us to a car. But in fact, the car is empty of any inherent self. It's just a bunch of stuff. It's just a bunch of aggregates. It's just a bunch of handas, because you can just take it apart. Well, the same is true of the self. In essence, the teaching here is that it is a fabrication. We fabricate a sense of self, our ego, who we are. I'm an American. I'm an old white guy, all this kind of stuff. These are all just ideas, perceptions that fabricate this sense of self. This is a quote of the Buddha. Understanding our experience through the lens, right, the glasses, lentes of the five aggregates helps us realize for ourselves the fundamental selfless nature of all phenomena. Like, maybe you see this when you meditate, like in those last 5 minutes, you might have noticed that thoughts just arise and then they stay a little while and they go. They're not personal, right? They're just arisings. Sankharas arise, our perception arises, even consciousness just arises and passes away. They're not selfish. And when we realize this and we let go, right, of this sense of self, we suffer less. This is the whole key here. Real quickly, these are the sankharas. There are those that are universal, apply to everything all the time. There are those that are occasional. This is also very Buddhist. There are also formations that are unwholesome, and there are formations that are wholesome, which is called beautiful for some reason in the Buddhist text, but it's the opposite of unwholesome. And there's also the factor of volition or intention. This is another sankhara that's very important. What do I intend? What volition arises that I therefore make, talk, these words come out of my mouth? And I'm going to take us off of the share here so I can see all your faces again. Make sure, how we doing on time? Okay, a few more minutes. So I just want to mention a couple things and how we can kind of bring this home, right? Because there's a lot of lists, a lot of words, and can be a little bit confusing. But I think also can be very helpful, right? It's a new set of glasses. It's a new point of view, right? That's like right view. That very first factor in the Eightfold Path is to have the right view, to see the world through these glasses. And when we see the world through these aggregates, that they're impersonal, that they're just arising, that they're subject to change, they're subject to imperfection, right? Our perception may not be correct. So don't cling to it too hard. That might be a stick and not a snake, or it might be a snake and not a stick. So maybe the idea is to hold it gently, right? And by practicing in this way, we start to see things more clearly, that we purify the mind, we let go of those things that are clouding the mind, and we try to see things with a bare knowing. And I love, again, Joseph Goldstein's book on mindfulness. I highly recommend it. It's practically a Bible. It's the title is mindfulness, but within it, because all the lists are within lists, and probably the most important of the lists are within this fourth foundation of mindfulness, you can get 90% of the Buddhist teachings just in this one book on mindfulness. So this one about consciousness. There's something we can do when we practice, and I'm going to put this out also to make sure for those of you who like to think in Spanish, or maybe you do think in Spanish and you want to speak in English, or think in English, but in English we use a lot of hendios is the palabra, Ana Monica, hendios, wanting, gerunds, that's the word in English, gerunds. We use a lot of gerunds in English and we use them not only as a verb in process, but we also use them as nouns. And I think this is a very useful use of the language when translating from the Pali, from these Buddhist, not that they used what is it again? Gerunds. But they translate well into gerunds. So for instance, when when I talk about labeling our experience, you could say inhaling, exhaling. Okay, that gerund works as the process, the flow of activity that's going on, and it works as a name, as a naming, a label, right? Inhaling, exhaling. So in Spanish, you can do exactly the same thing, right? Inhalando, exhalando, it works, but maybe less so as a name, but more as a verb in process, right? So the one that I like very much, and this Joseph Goldstein actually came up with this one himself. This isn't one that he took from the Buddha, but it's a way of watching our experience where we use the word that I can never seem to remember. I want to use a different word. It is Jared. Why can't I remember that word? Jaron, with whatever it is that's being known. So for instance, right now, I'm aware of my posture. Okay, so posture being known. And when I use the gerund in this way with to be, it converts it into a passive third person. So maybe this also is an interesting thing. In Spanish, you guys use a lot the third person, you know, se hable or whatever. So maybe it could also work that way. In English, we tend to use these gerunds when it's third person, meaning it's not happening to me. It's just being known. Sitting, being known. Talking, being known. Or more specifically, like yesterday, after we've been watching this Spanish show, which has an English title called Money Heist, I think is the name of it, Money Heist. And it's about a group of people that went into the mint in Madrid there, and they're trying to steal the money. We're only halfway through it. But before it, I usually meditate, and after it, I meditate. And so I just got done meditating for 20 minutes before it, and then something happened, and I just exploded with anger, rage. I mean, just bleh. So this is a very good example of how useful it could be to just, okay, rage is being known. I'm knowing rage in this moment. But if I say like, I'm raging, I'm a rageaholic, you can see how that can really start to cause me some suffering, right? Beating myself up. Oh, I'm a horrible person because I have this rage. But instead, and it literally felt like this, that it just arose out of nowhere, right? Causes and conditions just came together and boom, this rage exploded. So rage is being known. Anger is being known. Sadness is being known. Loneliness. We were listening to a Dharma talk by a wonderful American teacher named Tara Brach. Tara wrote a great book called Radical Acceptance, right? Radical Acceptance. She's a great teacher. I highly recommend her. And she was talking about loneliness, how during our lockdowns, right, we could feel a lot of loneliness. Well, if we get too identified with that, I'm the one who's feeling lonely. I'm a lonely person. I'm alone. We could really start a downward spiral with our own thinking, when in fact, all that has happened is that loneliness is being known in this moment. It's arisen. We have a bare knowing of it. And it feels like this. It's experienced like this. We can let it go. So I'm assuming like in Spanish, maybe you would, I don't know if you would use estar or ser, and I don't know if you would use conocido or sabido. So you have some options there to make your little thing, but it seems like you could estando conocido, right? Enfado, estando, siendo conocido, or no sé, se sabe. But maybe there's a way that you can, and I wish I had my Spanish version of this book to see how it was translated, but some way to impersonalize it, depersonalize it, make it third person. And then as a practice, we do this more and more so that we are deconstructing the self. And this is the path. The path is to deconstruct the self, to get to know the empty nature of phenomena, all phenomena. This is what this one is about. This fourth foundation of mindfulness is about really seeing the empty nature of all phenomena, right? In the end. And not taking things personally, not believing things are permanent when they're not permanent, not believing that things are satisfying when ultimately they won't, and not believing that things are personal because they're not. All right, that was a lot of words as usual. So I'm going to stop. What I thought, I'm going to open it up now. And if you have a question or you want to say something to the group, we could do that. And then for those who are interested and willing, we'll do the small groups. And if you're not, you can say goodbye. Oh, and we'll do a little metta meditation before the small group. So I forgot that part, but we'll do that. So right now I'm going to open it up. So if you have any questions, you could just say something. We're a small enough group.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's coming at us or whether that's in the background, but does anybody have a question or? Actually, I think I'm gonna, because somebody's phone is on and maybe something in the background, I'm gonna mute it. So then just wave your hand. I heard something about going for a walk. Un paseo, no? So does anybody have a question or would like to share something? No? Okay. Well, you will have a chance to share if you like during the small groups. I wonder. Yeah, I don't have anything more. I'm just going to check with Anna Monica. Are you checking the chats to see if it's any question? Are there any questions? Okay, so why don't we do a metta meditation, and then we'll do the small groups. Does that sound all right? Okay. So again, finding a comfortable posture. I often put my hands on my heart center near my heart to feel that area, because this particular practice of metta is considered a heart practice, a cultivation of the qualities of the heart. And so if there's anybody new, we're going to say mentally or out loud, if you're alone, phrases or wishes towards ourselves and towards others. So it's a little more of an active practice than the vipassana or the samatha that we did. So we'll start with ourselves, and I understand I basically said that there really is no self. So it might be a slight contradiction there, but this sense of self, this fabricated self that we want our experience to be as wholesome as possible. So let's send good wishes to this fabricated self. So may I be healthy and well. So you could just repeat these to yourself and try to feel it. May I be healthy and well. I want to be healthy and well. May I be healthy and well. And may I be safe and protected. Right? A salvo y protegido. And may I live with ease. Ease doesn't translate super well in Spanish, but it's like facilidad or fácil. May I live with ease. And may I be happy. May I be happy. So now let's send metta to those people who are on the front lines, you might say, of this coronavirus crisis, the healthcare workers, the nurses, the doctors, the support staff, and those workers, those trabajadores that are out there possibly encountering the virus on a regular basis. Maybe they're in factories or whatever that they have to work. Those people who are been affected, and those who are sick, and those who are around those who are sick, and those who have lost somebody. So kind of, this is almost a karuna practice to a compassion practice. But let's send metta to that group. May they be healthy and well. May they be healthy and well. May they be safe and protected. May they live with ease. May they be happy. And now let's try what we call a difficult being, a difficult person. So this could include somebody who maybe did or said something that hurt our feelings, but it could also be somebody who just isn't taking good care of themselves right now, and as a result could be a risk to somebody else. You know, they're not respecting the physical distancing guidelines or something. Let's offer metta to them, to this group. I'm going to use the second person pronoun you. May you be healthy and well. May you be safe and protected. May you live with ease. May you be happy. And now for all beings, in all directions, without exceptions, just imagine spreading this goodwill, this loving kindness to everybody. Imagine what the world would be like if we were all filled with goodwill and loving kindness. May all beings be healthy and well. May all beings be safe and protected. May all beings live with ease. May all beings be happy. And lastly, we will dedicate, share the fruit of our practice today, our Sangha, the teachings, and our Buddha nature, that part of us that is pure, wholesome. Let's share these for the benefit of all beings. May all beings be safe and protected, happy and peaceful, healthy and strong. May all beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering, free from war and violence and discrimination, and free from coronavirus. And may all beings find their path, find their right view that points in the direction of freedom, the direction of the cessation, the end of suffering. May all beings be free. Sure I didn't forget anything. Well, thank you very much, everyone. So good to see your faces. I'm especially so happy that I see many of you, week after week. It really, although the group has been shrinking, but I'm glad for you stalwarts, we call them, those that have hung in there. So just as a reminder, this coming Wednesday, we're going to have Bhante Sanita Vihari from Hollywood, from North Hollywood again on Wednesday in Spanish. And he's going to lead us in kind of a special talk after the meditation, because the following day, Thursday, is considered in the Theravada tradition the birth day, awakening day, and death of the Buddha. So it's a special day for Buddhists. And he's going to talk about that on Wednesday. On Thursday, we'll do another English group, again, talking about the fourth foundation of mindfulness. So you're all welcome for that. That will be probably done from my office. So you guys will be able to see what my office looks like in San Francisco. And that may end up being the last of the Thursdays. We'll just see how demanding my work is going to end up being. But meanwhile, okay, so the time has come, but I'm happy to stay on, form some groups for those of you who'd like to interact. And I'll still be here, of course, when you get back. So if there's well, first I'm going to open. I'm willing to say hi to everyone. Hi. And
Hi.
thank you very much. Okay, so I'm going to make these little breakout groups. I'm going to try to make them in 3, and I'll let you know every 2 minutes so that one person could share. If you want to do it that way, you could do it however you want to do it. But that's kind of how we've been doing, I think. So here we go. Huh? Oh, right. Thank you. Are you